Hey, what's up guys? Weekly Light here, and today I'm going to be going over the melee-based human and pit people. So I decided to go over the stats of the base case scenario. So for the base case, it's a level 1 human who has no helmet, a light sword, and a light shield. It is the bald head, the recrutador light sword, and the light shield, or the small shield light shield. When it's not the hero, it has 10% weight, 7 attack, a low amount of block, a very high amount of dodge, and 4 steps. It also has 4.5 hearts. When it becomes the hero, it has absolutely no weight, 8 attack, some amount of defense, 5 steps, and 5 hearts. Health and damage does change as you level up, so keep that in mind. And dodge chance decreases as your weight increases. If you have a weight greater than or equal to 50%, then you will have 1 less step. You also lose additional steps for being overweight if you're not a hero. Many weapons alter stats, so I'll be using the longsword, the sharp rectangle, and the bruiser for the 4 weapons, or 3 weapons. And then the following numbers are all approximate, and they use the numbers for the non-hero. So the hero gains less weight per armor piece, and gains more defense and attack. So it seems to get about +1 or +2 attack as it scales up, so higher numbers scale up greater. And for defense, it seems to be so like a small amount will be a medium amount instead, and a medium amount will be slightly higher. So think of it like just a +1 for defense and attack, and about 2/3 of the weight for the weight stats. Most stats seem to get a boost from being the hero, and also that additional 1 step is also very good. Basically, you can put a lot more equipment on it too because of how much extra weight it can carry. So there is a big difference between the hero and the non-hero for the human, as opposed to with the Cyclops where there was very little difference. To the different weapons. So with the medium sword, you get +40% weight and +3 attack. With the heavy sword, you get +80% weight and +4 attack. And with the mallet, you get +80% weight, and you get the mallet bonus damage to helmets. When you have the net on your offhand, it gives you +15% weight, +75% snare chance, but you also can't block any projectiles. If you have the medium shield, it's also +15% weight, and you have a 42% chance to block projectiles, and you also gain a medium amount of blocking. If you have the heavy shield, you get 40% additional weight, and your blocking chance goes up to 82%, and you gain a small amount of defense, but a massive amount of blocking. So if you go with the throwing weapon, it allows you to hit targets from far away, like medium range, like 2 tiles, I think. If you go with the light helm, then you get a small dodge chance, and a small amount of defense. But like I said before, the defense scales up if you're the hero, so it would be a medium amount of defense for the hero. With the medium helm, you get +15% weight and -1 attack, but you do gain a sword resistance, but you do become weak to mallets. And you also gain a medium amount of defense. With the heavy helmet, you gain 40% weight, you lose 2 attack, and you also get the sword resist and the mallet weakness, but you also gain a large amount of defense. So the 3 main characters in the game, Horatio, Yosef, and Pipistrella, they represent the 3 main playstyles of the melee-focused human, because there's a blocker, a mid-ranged, and a DPS type character. So Yosef actually does use the range type throwing weapons, which have a stun chance, but it's essentially the same as the offhand throwing weapon. So with the offhand throwing weapon, it allows you to damage enemies from close up and far away at like the same time. So if there's an enemy you want to stay away from, you can hit it from afar in your back lines. Or if you want to get up close and personal, then you can get right up close and then use your melee weapon instead on your on-hand. So it makes it harder for enemies to escape, and you can easily harass them from the back lines. But it leaves you with no shield, so you have very little block chance, and you are weak to arrows, which could be a bad idea in the unfair challenge where arrows are extremely prevalent. Some people commented on the Cyclops video and recommended having a thrown weapon on the offhand to surprise enemies, because extra range plus like 5 movement steps for the hero can mean that you can effectively hit enemies like six steps away, which is like pretty much across the map. So no one is safe from that. You could probably even like get archers at that range. So if you're not too concerned about defense, it's always a good idea to put a thrown weapon on your offhand to increase your effective range, which increases the utility of the character if it's purely focused on offense and you don't want any defensive capabilities. So for the DPS focused human, you have the option between 3 different swords or a mallet. So the swords are good against most things, but are bad against helmets, while mallets are good against helmets. But you don't have access to the heavy mallets that the Cyclopses have, so you only have one mallet to choose from. But there's many different types of mallets, which probably have different stat changes. So how it works is helmets can only be put on zombies, spiders, cyclopses, and humans. So against most creatures, you're probably better off running a sword, because the bigger swords can get you extra damage in exchange for weight, while the heavy mallet will probably be a big waste because it weighs the same as the heaviest sword, but does less damage. It does the same damage as the lightest sword to enemies that do not have a helmet. So if your enemy uses a lot of creatures, such as like hair trolls and whatnot, then it's not a good idea to use the mallet. But if your entire enemy team is like zombies or something that all have helmets on them, then you're better off using the mallet because helmets resist swords. So you sort of have to predict. I would say if you're going to run multiple different things, have at least one mallet and at least one sword, so that way you can cover all the bases. I guess it's okay if you don't have the mallet, but it just makes helmets harder to deal with. So mallets are extremely good against helms, so if you have helms, they're like 100% worth it. And because they cost the same weight as the heavy sword, and they can help you deal with the pesky tanky guys. But if there's no helmets on the other team, it's completely not worth it. So it's a big gamble running the mallets. From what I've seen though, a lot of people do like to run helmets, so if you're gonna be trying to play in the PvP pit, then you might want to run at least one mallet if you have a human. They do weigh a lot, so keep that in mind. And then up last is my favorite type of character, which is the blocker. So this is what you actually start with. Horatio starts off with a heavy shield. So it allows you to nullify enemy arrows, which is extremely good for blocking off stuff. So let's just say there's like 20 archers on the other side. If my blocker goes up first, it can pretty much eat up all the arrows and waste their turns. So if you have a blocker up front, it pretty much protects all your stuff in the back. So that's really good for choke points and front lines, and for protecting squishier stuff that's weak to arrows, such as vampires. So there's a lot of arrows and archers in the unfair challenge. So if you keep that in mind if you're going to be attempting the unfair challenge, because a heavy shield is always welcome there, due to the large quantity that you'll usually face. I don't know why you face so many archers there, but there seem to be just so many archers. It's a good idea to pair it with a cupcake, because you sustain a lot of damage, so you can tank a lot, but you have no self-heal, so the cupcake will provide the healing to keep you in the fight longer. Usually you can level up before you die, due to how much you can tank and then the damage you deal with a light sword and it's 2 hits. But if you can't level up like you're playing someone else, then you probably need a cupcake to help you keep your presence on the front lines. Back during the beta, I remember there were elemental resist shields, and I really liked to run those to synergize well with teams, but I haven't actually gotten any of those in the current game, so I'm not sure if they're still around. I think they're most likely still around, and I just haven't gotten lucky. But it's a good idea to use an elemental resist heavy shield if they're still in the game, to help protect yourself from friendly fire, such as pixies or electrobots or something like that, that can hurt your own team. So there's so much variety for these humans. They have 4 weapons, 5 offhand choices, 4 helmets, and the choice to be hero or not, which comes out to be 160 total combos. But if you factor in the unique cosmetic items, you have 178 weapons, 183 offhand choices, 402 helmets, and the choice to be hero or not, which comes out to be 26,189,496 different unique cosmetic options. So you can make your hero look however you want. I would say that these humans are like the Burger King character because you can have it your way. You can fill any role in the spectrum from DPS to tank, and they have really high movement, which is always useful because it increases the map presence and it allows them to get optimal positioning at every encounter. So they're always where you want them to be. Unlike some of the slower units like Cyclopses, which have trouble positioning early game, and even late game they can't reposition pretty easily. So since the heroes have such wide variety of different choices and high movement speed, it makes them very lethal, and are always a good idea to have at least one human in your group if it synergizes well with your stuff. The most niche role is probably going to be the blocker, because the blocker has the best chance to block projectiles out of all your units. So if you don't have something that can eat up arrows, you're probably going to want to run a heavy shielded human. But if you have something that can eat up arrows like a Gorgon or something that discourages arrow users, then you might want to run just a standard human with a light sword or something, or a heavy sword, or a mallet if you're encountering a lot of helmets and you're finding them really pesky. So thank you for watching, and I think I'm going to start the team comp guides next week. So stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.